If you're watching this video, then chances are you probably are someone who has a lot on your plate. Like a lot. I don't know about you, but for me, my plate is quite full, probably overflowing with my full-time teaching gig, making and creating content for my TBT shop, creating products for my TBT shop and running all of that, creating content for y'all, working at church, taking care of the house, taking care of the dog. Like there's a lot of stuff that is going on constantly all of the time. And because of that, it is really important to maximize any little tiny pieces of time that you do have. So a few weeks ago, I got a question from somebody and they said, hey, could you make a video talking about how to maximize very small pockets of time to help your store move forward even when you don't have a lot of time? And the answer is yes we can. So let's talk all about that in this video, which hopefully will be pretty short because again, you don't have time. So we're not gonna waste it. Okay. Now, first of all, I do want to make the case that it is a lot easier to run your store if you can find some larger chunks of time. So if you can put in, an hour here, an hour there, 2 hours here, it's gonna make a huge difference. I actually today was reevaluating my schedule because I was trying to find some more time for myself as well. And first of all, it's hard, so totally understand if you can't, but really and truly, like the amount of stuff you can get done in an hour or in 30 minutes, like those larger chunks of time is massive compared to the things that you can get done in smaller amounts of time. That being said, as a music teacher, I can definitely tell you that even a little bit of practice every day makes a huge difference. And the same with your store. If you can do a little bit each day, it's going to make a huge difference. It's that old saying, how do you, eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So you can do it. I just do want to remind you to look at your schedule, see where you can find some time. If you need help with that, I will link down below a video about what we call my ideal week and how I figure out what I want to do and how I'm going to fit things in. But without further ado, let's talk about those little chunks, because sometimes we just got to make the most of 15 minutes here and 10 minutes there and 5 minutes there. Okay, so when it comes to figuring out what all you need to get done, before we talk about maximizing your time, let's talk about prioritizing, because prioritizing is really the key here. Specifically prioritizing what stuff needs to get done when. One of the best things that I have done this year is, even as I make a giant to-do list, because I love a good giant to-do list, I always have so many things that I want to get done, I have been stopping and I have been making a list of what's the most important. And I usually number them like, okay, this is the most important task, then this, then this, and this. So right now I'm working on a first grade curriculum. That is the most important task that I am working on right now. The reason this is important is because if I get 10 minutes or I get 15 minutes, it's better for me to work on that thing that I already said is the most important, because it's going to help move the business forward. So identify what is the most important thing that needs to get done. And that also might be, what things that need to get done weekly. So for me, I need to send out emails every week. That is probably the most important. That's probably more important than anything else in my personal business, is getting the emails out. If I don't get the emails out, there's a problem. If I'm a few days late on content, it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. If I don't get a new product up, it's really not the end of the world, because, it's going to take a while to gain some momentum anyway. So that is kind of where I'm at. What are the things that have to get done for your business to run? And then what are the most important tasks after that? Once you've got that sorted, then you kind of wanted to think through different timings. So think through tasks that take 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes and sort them down. You can even write them down. Make a note in your phone. That could be your first 5-minute task, and make a note in your phone so that way when you have a couple of minutes, you can refer to this list. I would also suggest maybe making a list of things that have to be done on your laptop connected to internet versus other things, because there's some stuff that I can do on my laptop that I can't do on my phone, but there's some stuff I could do on my phone. So just that way, if you're in line at the grocery store, you might still be able to get some stuff done. So let's talk about it. What are some tasks that you could do really quickly? Well, in 5 minutes, you could update a description on a product. You could update a bundle and make sure that it has, everything situated. In 5 minutes, if you have a template, you could even update maybe a cover to a product. That would require having a template, because you probably can't go from 0 to a cover in that amount of time. But if you have a template, that's why we do templates. We like to save time. You can answer DMs, answer comments on different platforms. You can answer Q&As in the questions area. You can update your featured products. That's something that you can do in 5 minutes. It doesn't take long. I usually go and look at what was selling best at this time last year, and that's usually what I pick, unless there's something specific I want to like make sure I'm promoting, maybe to make sure it gets more, but most of it is what was popular last year, and it doesn't take a long time to get that done. So those are a couple things you could do in 5 minutes. Obviously, all of our businesses look different, so you're gonna wanna make your own list for this. But moving on to 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, you could make a couple new slides for a presentation. In 10 minutes, you could map out a plan for a new product. This has been one of the most helpful things that I have done recently, is actually like making a plan for a product, because usually I get excited and I just jump right into it. But I find when I stop and I actually plan it out, I have a better result, especially if it's something longer. Usually I just do this in my notebook. I'll just draw some squares, and each square is, you know, whatever it is. And I'll kind of write down things that I want to include and what slides I might need, what worksheets I might need, that kind of stuff like that. So you can plan that out in 10 minutes and have, you know, at least a rough draft of what that product's gonna look like. In 10 minutes, you could update your thumbnails or your cover. You can, you know, just jazz things up a little bit, especially if you already have some product photography ready to go. Or in 10 minutes, you can do a little bit of organization if your stuff is as much of a mess as mine is. Now for 15 minutes, I actually have an entire video about things you can do in 15 minutes. So I will link that one down below. But in 15 minutes, you can write a note to your followers or an email, or if you're like me and you send the same thing to your followers and to your email list, that's fine too. You could update your cover and thumbnail, or just one of them, or you can get 15 minutes worth of work onto your next product, because 15 minutes is actually a good chunk of time. It's like a quarter of an hour. So, you know, if you got 4 15-minute chunks, you got an hour of work coming in. So those are the things that are helpful. So let's see, we had identify what's most important and needs to get done, identifying tasks by time. Write these down somewhere so that when you have 5 minutes, when you got 10 minutes, you can refer to this list and be like, what can I help? Now, the next thing that I would highly suggest is what I call the default task. This is something that I feel like people don't do enough of, and they should. A default task is when I have however much time, I'm gonna work on XYZ. And it is my default until that task is over. So, example, at school, a lot of times my default task will be writing lesson plans. If I, you know, finish the stuff I need to and I have 10 more minutes, I'm gonna open up my lesson planning document. I'm gonna spend 10 minutes writing lesson plans. Or right now, I need to get grades in because it's towards the end of the quarter when I'm filming this. So my default task is putting grades in. If my kids are watching a 5-minute video about time signatures, I can put in 5 minutes worth of grades. And that's my default task. If I'm, you know, a few minutes early, if I'm waiting for classes, that kind of stuff, I can add that in there. Same thing at home. I have default tasks for, you know, when I'm at home. If I'm usually, like if I'm cooking and I have some time, I will clean something. If I am like waiting for something or waiting to go to choir, I will clean something. That's a default task. I also do this in the business where I'm like, okay, this is, you know, the next product I'm doing. This works really well, I would say, with things like writing out blog posts or working on products. Just have your default product that you're working on, and when you got 10 minutes, you got 15 minutes, go and work on that. This is really, really, really monumental because it really helps take advantage of those small chunks of time, and then you're taking those teeny tiny chunks of time and creating something good. Because if you can get, you know, 3 10-minute periods throughout the day, that's going to be 30 minutes, and that's going to make a big difference. So default tasks, game changer. Now, your default task might be a little bit different depending on where you are. Like I mentioned, I have default tasks at school because that's going to be different than things that I'm doing at home. And it just all depends. You know, if I'm at school and I need my computer, that's going to be one thing. If I'm at home and I need my computer, it's going to be something else. If I'm on the go and I'm only have my phone, then my default task is going to look different because of what's available to me where I am. So having those default tasks is kind of like having that most important thing. It's that, hey, what do I need to make sure that I'm working on? What is the most important thing? Even if I only get a little bit done, that's okay. Yesterday, I felt this because I was working on my most important thing and default task currently, which is going through and editing my first grade curriculum. And I did not get nearly as far as I wanted to, but I did get something done. And because I got something done, I have now pushed that project forward and I'm closer to where I need to be. So then tonight, hopefully maybe I can finish this step that I'm on so that then we can move on going forward. But I know that is my default task. So when dinner is done, I'm getting my laptop and that's what I'm working on. Okay. So default tasks, highly recommend. Highly recommend. And these change, obviously. When I'm writing blog posts, like that's my default task. And blog posts are great because I can like type a little bit and stop, then type a little bit and stop. My default task changes depending on where I am, what I'm doing, what's important. But having a default task takes a lot of the guesswork out of trying to decide what to do, which is one of the hardest things, really and truly. If you don't have to decide, life's a lot easier. And finally, friends, I know you probably don't want to hear it, but the really key to maximizing your time is to plan and prioritize. So prioritizing what are the tasks that are the most important, what has to get done, what is urgent, what is something that like if it doesn't get done, the world is going to fall in, because those are the things we need to make sure that we're getting done. Prioritizing important tasks, prioritizing which product is the most important, prioritizing what content is the most important will really help you to figure out what you need to spend your time on and what maybe is less important. So for example, for my business, Instagram, not super important. I'm not spending hours and hours and hours on Instagram, even if I have a couple minutes. I'll post on Instagram. I am terrible at answering messages. I'm terrible at answering comments, but I will post and that's pretty much it because I don't need to spend a ton of time over there. But YouTube, blog posts, those things are important. And so those things I put a lot more effort into. Having your priorities straight will help you to know what you need to work on and what needs to come next, which is really the magic when you're trying to maximize your time. Because when you're maximizing those little pockets of time, you do not have time to waste on things that are not moving your business forward. So make sure that you're checking in, you're seeing what's important, what's most important right now that you need to work on, and what is maybe not as important and not moving the needle forward. This also might mean you might need to take a look in your data, see what's sending you traffic, see where your, leads are coming from, see where your people are coming from, and all of that. But just really prioritizing and planning is going to make the biggest difference. I'm going to butcher this quote. Let me look this up before I say wrong things. Well, I'm glad I looked it up because I was going to tell you the whole wrong thing. Benjamin Franklin apparently said that for every minute spent organizing, an hour is earned. I definitely thought it was 10 minutes, but here we are. Now, is that an exaggeration? Probably, but it really has the heart of what is important here, which is you gotta plan, you gotta organize, and for every little bit that you spend, it really does multiply itself. So maybe your 5 minutes needs to be organizing things, getting your thoughts together, that kind of stuff. Even sometimes I want to like jump into things, but I promise if you stop and you spend a little bit of time thinking and working and organizing your thoughts, it will make a huge difference. So let me know down in the comments what you do when you have 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll see you in the next one. We kept this short. Good. That was the plan.